Welcome back to Right on the Money, your go-to resource for financial topics that matter to you. If you're just joining us, we're here with Erik Bowman, founder of Bowman Financial Strategies. Erik, always good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
And we have been talking about the 5 mistakes people make when choosing a financial advisor. Now, a second ago, in fact, you're probably going to want to back up and look at that episode, but we talked about making sure, hiring an advisor who's not a fiduciary and or what credentials are important. Now I want to talk to you about falling in love.
Okay.
All right, what I mean by that, hiring the first advisor you meet, why is that a mistake? Why does it happen?
I think people are actually trying to almost force a fit when there may not be one so that they can move forward and maybe take some action. Or maybe they're feeling pressure from the first person they met and they're applying some time-sensitive decision-making activities around it where you feel the pressure to actually do it.
You know, I can see where if you've finally made the decision, because now you're at some point, I'm getting up towards that age where it's like, oh, holy smokes, I actually do want to retire at some point and it's not that far away. I should get serious.
Yeah.
So then maybe the first presentation you see or the first thing, or you mentioned the pressure, but let's talk about that. So how do you handle this as a client? You mentioned fit. Talk to us about fit.
Well, I think that you should interview multiple financial advisors because there's different personalities. You need to make sure there's a good fit in personality. You need to make sure that the firm actually provides the service and the level of detail required to meet your specific needs. In our firm, we not only talk about retirement investments, which is common across, I think, all advisors, but we also really get into deep analysis and recommendations on retirement income, retirement taxation, retirement legacy planning, and retirement health care. So we have a pretty panoramic approach, and if that's the fit somebody's looking for, that may diverge from an advisor that simply manages portfolios, for example. If you only see one retirement planner during the interview process, you may think that all retirement planners or investment advisors are the same. And it would only be through talking to multiple people to look for the best fit for you, which means you should be asking a lot of questions, not only about the credentials and understand those services, but the compensation schedule. And I do think that personal connection needs to be there, because think about what you're going to discuss over the years: life, death, health, and money, and family. Pretty important things, and you need to have a strong bridge built with that person.
I think of 2 things there. So you said over the years, and I think a lot of people, when they start their journey, they think they're just going to, I'm going to go see somebody, put a plan together, and then I don't see them again.
And it does take time. As the client, I've got to go see 3 different advisors, but if you want to do it right, and if you want to make decisions that are going to impact the rest of your life in the best possible way, this is one activity that it probably makes sense to interview multiple people.
So have you gotten some good questions through the years? Anything jump out to you?
Here's what actually happens is they don't know the questions to ask. So we're prepared to basically help them help themselves by giving them information that they need to know whether they think to or not. So for example, full disclosure on compensation, you'd think that would be an everyday event, but it's not necessarily. How often we're going to meet? What's our specialty, or what area do we focus in? The clients, the multitude of questions we get, I couldn't even count them, but to the extent they don't hit the major ones that fall under number 1, fiduciary disclosure, or just things that I know people should know before they enter into a long-term relationship, we want to make sure they get on the table so there's no surprises down the road.
Maybe this should be titled, instead of 5 mistakes when looking for an advisor,
right,
maybe it should be 5 mistakes when entering into a financial relationship.
Right, yeah.
It's a long-term deal. Okay, this one was a short segment, but one of the things that I do want to do is I want to talk a little bit about how you work with clients. So you are a fiduciary.
Right.
You do have credentials.
Yeah.
And then you have these conversations with people when they come in. What would be something that when somebody comes into your office and the way that you work with your staff, something that you feel like when they first come that they should know about the process?
That we have a process, to be honest. There are plenty of financial firms out there that actually don't have a process. They want to just talk about managing money, putting them in portfolios. We have I would like to call it's a formalized process to allow for the informality of relationship to prosper, really. So the process, we have an initial engagement process that results in a retirement plan, which includes full investment recommendations, income recommendations surrounding Social Security, pensions, distributions. The retirement tax component is how do we do it all efficiently and pay the least amount of taxes possible and maximize that net income, and then legacy and healthcare and making sure they're all incorporated into that plan. What they start to understand is that we don't just kind of one day talk about one thing and next day the next thing, that we have a very strong process that once they become a client, the process continues. How often do we meet? When do we meet? What do we talk about during different levels of engagement, whether it's the quarterly phone call, the semi-annual financial strategy meeting, or maybe it's the annual market outlook and review event that we have. But there's a lot of different levels of engagement that we have. And I think they would find when they contrast that to many advisory firms that there could be a lack of process, which then means there could be a lack of a systematic way of evaluating their situation to find the best recommendations possible.
Now, I'm going to catch you there because we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, this is a perfect segue because we're going to talk about how one of the big mistakes is choosing an advisor with the wrong specialty and then picking an advisor with an incompatible strategy and why this all fits together.
Sure.
It's super important. You do not want to miss that. We will see you on the other side.